And welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. I'm Rick Unger, filling in for the vacationing Steve Malzberg. Lucky Steve, a good Labor Day in his future. Today on the Malzberg panel, I'm staging something of a reunion. I'm joined by Scottie Nell Hughes, news director at the Tea Party News Network, and Tom Doherty, partner at high-stakes public strategy firm Mecury. Now, I have to tell you before we start that at another network, at another time, the three of us were often a panel together, and we had a great time, so I had to take advantage of the opportunity to bring us all back. Scottie, Tom, welcome to the show.
It's great to be with you. Great to see you, Scottie.
Oh, well, I wish I could see you guys too, but I'm down here in Dallas at the AFP Defending the American Dream Conference, but I could not miss this opportunity to once again lay the smack down on you two.
We had to bring the band back together. All right, so let's start off with what I know you're both dying to talk about. Yesterday's statement by the president that basically said we have no strategy. I'll start with you, Scottie. Ladies first. Do you take him literally? Do you think we really have no strategy for dealing with the Islamic State?
Well, that's the thing. Originally I would have thought, you know what, he obviously doesn't have a strategy. But then I started thinking, he has actually fulfilled almost every single thing on his campaign promises. Did he promise to do something about health care, overhaul the system? Accomplish that one. Has he promised to do something about the borders? He's about to get his way on that one. I think there is a strategy. It might not be what you and I would decide for, but I think there definitely is something. Unfortunately, I don't think it's a strategy that's good for America.
Tom?
No, listen, I don't think he has a strategy, and quite frankly, I think it's a complex situation between Ukraine, between ISIS, and a lot of other hot spots around the world. I think, look, the worst thing is to be out vacationing, golfing, which, I don't say he can't do that. But if you're going to be doing that, don't tell the American people that you don't have a strategy on ISIS, because this is a global terrorist threat right now, and he has shown that he's not up to it.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll be John McLaughlin here and go, no, you're wrong. Now, listen, Tom just made a great point. Scottie, of course, you always make great points. But Tom hit on something that I think is going to be very problematic for the president in this. Even I wrote an article criticizing President Obama this past week for going to play golf right after he delivered his words on the loss of Mr. Foley. I thought that was A, in bad taste, and B, just politically ridiculous. Now, to do that and have that sitting there as one of the stories of the week and then announce to the public that I have no strategy is basically going to line everybody up to say, well, if you get off the golf course and attend a few meetings, maybe you'd have a strategy. But the reason I say I think you're both wrong on this, we know that the military always has a strategy. If we call the military into Syria, into Iraq, into anywhere in the next 10 minutes, they could be there tomorrow morning, and they've got a plan. Isn't it possible what the president was really saying was we need to still get our ducks in order? He does not intend to make too many moves here without having some help from both our allies and, more importantly, some of the countries in the region who are taking our side in this anti-fight against ISIL. So don't you think that maybe that was more what he was saying, Scottie?
No, I think on one hand, yes, Rick, that's a great way of looking at it. But on the other hand, maybe this is just this president doesn't care. He's gotten away with almost everything and not been held accountable for it. So maybe it's kind of like a narcissist. We've built him up so much and not held him accountable with all the different scandals. He can actually go on and say, we don't have a strategy. Yes, I believe there are people within this administration that has a strategy, but maybe he just hasn't cared enough to go find out what that is.
Tom, in the real world, do you imagine we've ever had a president of the United States who didn't care?
No, I don't. I mean, clearly he cares. I mean, my problem is that the White House sets the tone for the country. And right now, we have a country that can focus on issues for 5 minutes, and then we go to something else. We focus on Ferguson, we focus on Syria. And I think that the President of the United States, and I go back, and I don't want to compare Reagan, Bush, Clinton, et cetera, but I think this president at this moment of time needs to be a serious leader, and our country needs to focus on some real issues that are confronting this country moving forward, and that tone needs to be set in Washington, D.C.
Wait a minute, you
fair
just
point.
I have to ask you said, you seriously believe he does care. Let's look at this. We have a man's head chopped off that goes viral within minutes. We have a country right now that is having an open border. We have a race issue in Ferguson, and yet he's on vacation or comes back for 24 hours. That shows me that he doesn't care. You cannot
Well,
explain
Scotty,
it any other.
Scott, the problem I always have with the vacation argument is that everybody always makes that argument from both sides whenever any president is on vacation, and they all do. We all know, whether it's a Republican president or a Democratic president, the White House travels with that president. So I don't really think that's fair. At the same time, there is a fair point to be made, and I think you're both making it, that the optics of a situation really do matter. Yes, we all know that when the president's on vacation or on the golf course or in the White House, we know that he's working. We know that he's up to date, that he's getting the advice of the council. Now, you can criticize the advice he's getting. You can criticize the decisions he may be making with it, but you know he's getting it. But what we've got here is an optics situation. I would actually argue, and I suspect you'll both agree, that optics do matter. Scotty?
No, you're right. We definitely have a PR problem right now. I mean, let's look at the leadership we have seen. That's my question right now. You've got Putin, even though he's riding bareback on a horse, you know, people are scared of him. They don't want to go up against him. He is showing leadership within his country, whether it's, you know, as a dictator or whatever you want to call it. He's still showing leadership. Now today we have the prime minister over in England sitting there and calling out terrorists for what they are, Islamic terrorists for being what they are. He came back from it, even though probably, like you say the president does, his government traveled with him. He still came back. He made the public move to show I care. Just the same reason that they sent their Attorney General Holder to Ferguson. President Obama needed to set the moment, the PR right now.
But Tom, does that mean that the prime minister? Does it mean, Tom, that the prime minister is doing a better job in his job, or does it mean the prime minister is more sensitive to the optics of the situation?
I think it says the optics for an American president are very, very important, and that's why I go back to my original point, is that he needs to set a different tone. The tone over the last few years for our country has been, it's cool to go on Leno, it's cool to go on the Tonight Show, etc. I think we need to take a step back, and the president needs to set a new tone around the White House that it's not cool to be cool. We need leadership in this country right now to deal with some very serious issues, and that says that he needs to get his optics in order for the American people.
All right, so we're going to skip out of here for a quick minute. We have our friends Scottie Nell Hughes and Tom Doherty joining us on the panel. We are going to continue with them as soon as we come back, and we're going to talk a little bit about these freaks in the Senate who have something to say about a women's weight. Don't go away. It's going to be a good one.